All right, you guys. This is my project 3. This is a documentary about African American single mothers. Now, typical documentaries format would probably have a lot of cool B-roll, a lot of cool scripted stuff where they're like showing these people interacting with others. Something like maybe, I don't know, like a Lifetime or A&E little series. But personally, I believe that that is a fallacy and that is fake. I wanted to just show the blunt truth of these people's real stories. Full disclosure, the older lady is my mother and the younger lady is my cousin. However, I don't think that changes how their experiences will be portrayed in this project. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Evelyn McCoy Harris. I am 47 years old, executive director of Seed of Faith Ministries International. I am in charge of managing our many scopes of work, which includes housing, permanent housing, transitional housing, outreach, as well as the director of our Child Development Center, which I'm really proud of and just really excited about.
My name is Akira Jennings. I am 23 years old and I am a community healthcare worker.
Being a single mom was definitely challenging, but it was rewarding all at the same time. I was 24 when I had my first child, 25 when I had my second child, and back to back. So I felt like I had twins. They were 1 and 2 years old, but I made it happen. And becoming a single mom was a real challenge for me because that is not something that I envisioned, but it happened. And they were 5 and 6 years old when I became a single mom, and just being able to put them in preschool and kindergarten, first grade. It was a challenge, but I had a lot of support, and I'm thankful for that.
It's been a pretty good experience so far. I definitely want to change it for anything. Well, I might have waited a couple years, but yeah, like pretty much I've received a lot of positive feedback because, younger single moms don't always get that good reputation, I guess. A lot of them tend to think that we're just, out doing whatever and just really not there for the kids. They think we kind of shift them off to the grandparents. So kind of happy to just put a stop to that.
How was it being an African American single mom? A struggle, because being a female, one, you feel that you're not really empowered because of society, and then, if you will, my blackness of being a minority according to the majority. And so being able to effectively raise 2 children, a son and a daughter, was a challenge because there was always the barrier of not being the other color. And so not being the other color cause a lot of disadvantages. You can go in for an interview, and when they see your face, they're excited about what they see on paper. But then when you get in front of them, I'm sorry, but we're not able to offer you this position. So not being able to supply the needs that my children deserved was a real challenge because of the color of my skin.
There is a stigmatization to being younger, and I think being African American, that also adds to another layer of it, because African American parents, just in general, don't always get a good rep. They always think we have just the whole multiple slew of kids and just always on welfare. So that approach to it is a little more difficult because I have to try to reprogram people to see, like, hey, this isn't the norm, So that's one of the more difficult things about being an African American single mother. because I was using like WIC, which, just about every parent uses. But it's like when you walk in for the interview, you definitely feel gazes on you. Like you are probably having 5 kids that you're coming in here for, when honestly, that's not the case.
So we're talking about being a Black single mom in Chicago. I can give you an example. It was Christmas, and I was preparing my children's clothes to go to the laundromat. You know, everybody goes to the laundromat because you live in an apartment that doesn't have a laundry facility, not the luxury of being in the suburbs. So we lived in the city. And as I was packing up my children's things to go to the car, I went to the car. Of course, I locked them in there while in the apartment, went to the car, came back to my door, and there was a man literally forcing himself into the apartment with my 2 small children. And I screamed, and I'm just going to say it, I screamed, Jesus. And he ran. And this was the thing. Unfortunately, I had to teach my children at such a young age, don't open the door. Even if you hear mommy's voice, mommy has a key. So, the stringentness of raising, and I'm trying not to cry on camera, but the stringentness of raising 2 children in such a rigid, drug-infested, gang-infested area was a real challenge for me. And I said within myself, I can do better than this. I have a college degree. I didn't ask for this. And I'm going to make it better for myself. But while I was trying to make it better, I still had the challenges of the environment that I was in. And so many times people don't understand. People don't want to be in the environment they're in. Life happens and things happen. And so, just the craziness of living in Chicago and raising 2 children and then going to pick them up from school. And there's gunfire, there's fights on the playground. You're trying to find your kids, and there's so many kids all at the same time, and you're screaming for your kids, and you're listening for a response back to them. A lot of times, a lot of moms, single Black moms, didn't get a response back because their kid was shot dead. And so, the unfortunate cause of why these things happen and how these things happen, many of us don't have the answers. We just know that we want better for our children, the next generation. And so I really just had just that moment of trying to provide for my children. Had a job that I had to drive to an hour and a half away. Degree was not recognized for the abilities, not only the abilities, but what I brought to the table and experience, and basically had to quit the job in the end, staying with it in the struggle so that I can provide for my children, but all at the same time, stressed out to the max because I can't maintain the job with all of the stress that's associated with being a single Black female, a single Black mom. So the struggle is real. The struggle is real. And people may say, well, it really doesn't matter. It does. It matters because society has made it matter. And so being able to provide for my children was a real struggle. I remember one time I was sitting there and I was sitting in front of this pizza place and trying to find enough money in my car, change in my car, trying to get enough money to be able to buy a pizza for them. And I'll never forget it. My son had tears streaming down his face and he was like, Mom, what's wrong? And I couldn't tell him what was wrong. But when you're 9, because they had start to grow up, when you're 9 and you're 10 years old, you know what's happening. And you know that mom does not have enough money to provide for you.
That part is probably the most difficult so far, because personally my kid, she's a very happy, talkative people person. So she'll go ahead, run up to people, say hi. And honestly, they have a really good attitude towards her until they see me. When they see me, it's kind of like, oh, she's not white, she's black. And I think that's the most difficult thing, especially when she starts growing up. She's going to realize, hey, this person treats me a little bit differently than they would a straight black or a straight white person. There's always going to be that stigmatization of, okay, you don't really belong here, but you don't belong in the other one as well. And yeah, that's really that, because they see her and they just see white. And then they see me, and then you can tell that there's that stereotype going through the head. So that's a little more difficult, trying to balance that, especially with trying to discipline her. You know, there's a lot of things that I personally want to do in public, like grab on her, because that's just not a good look.
What advice would I give a single black mom looking your children in the face and knowing the 33 hours, the 25 hours, however long you was in labor with them, don't let that be in vain, because guess what? They are your greatest investment.
Personally, I say whatever anybody has to think about you, don't let it get to you. Whether it's good or bad, somebody's always going to think you could do something a little bit different. So just ignore it.